Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. You're having a good weekend. Nearly over, but never mind. There'll be another one along in a few days' time. Don't worry. Yeah, Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. They were due to fight for, I think it was a WBC lightweight belt, which is now vacant. Devin Haney onto 140 and to more challenges, I guess. But that frees up the undisputed belts. They all go up in the air. Who's going to pick them up? Well, let's be honest here, because when Frank Martin, who's a PBC fighter, was matched with Shakur Stevenson, I think most people, myself included, thought this is a shoo-in for Stevenson. Now, that's not to say Martin is a bad fighter, but he hasn't looked as impressive as Stevenson, who has already won belts at featherweight and super feather. But he hasn't looked as good as him. But he has got some pretty, decent performances on his record. The last time he fought was only in July. This is Frank Martin I'm talking about now. Only in July of this year. And he beat an undefeated fighter 12-0 called Artem Haratunyan, I think the guy's name is. Haratunyan. Artem. I want to call him Artem for the sake of not repeatedly massacring his name. And he beat him, but he did have him over. He forced him to take a knee in the 12th round, but he didn't look great doing it. He looked a bit vulnerable at times. And again, Artem Haratunyan, whatever his name is, he was undefeated. He came with a lot of ambition, and he kind of put it on Martin, and he didn't do too badly. And I think Martin was a deserved winner. But of course, if you're comparing and contrasting, would you think that Shakur Stevenson would have as much problems with Mr. Artem than Frank Martin? I would say not. Nevertheless, before that, in December of last year, Frank Martin fought another undefeated fighter, Michel Rivera, outpointed him over 12. That was a wide decision, and Rivera was undefeated in 24, no draws, no defeats. And, Romero Duno, he beat last year as well, stopped in 4. He had a decent record, 24-2. Martin has got 18 wins with 12 KOs. And he's looked okay. I mean, he beat another undefeated fighter in 2021 called Jerry Perez, unbeaten in 13, knocked him out in 7. He's got some decent pop to his punches and some good skills. But let's not kid each other. Shakur Stevenson looks like one of those, they call them generational talents. One of those guys who really does look like he could be destined for the Hall of Fame. He's 26 years old. Frank Martin's 28. So he's got 2 years on him. He's coming into his prime, getting his man strength. Like I say, he's already won belts in 2 divisions. 20 wins, only 10 KOs, although he's got far more whack than that. But he is a stylist. He's very fast, very skillful, very, very impressive overall. He was last seen in April of this year, defeating Shuichiro Yoshino, stopped him in 6 rounds. Yoshino was undefeated in 16. Prior to that, Robson Conceição, 17 wins and 1 defeat. He got outpointed over 12. That was wide victory. Prior to that, another wide victory over 12. Oscar Valdez. He stopped Jamel Herring in 10 rounds. Stevenson, this is. I mean, the guy has looked really, really good in terms of skills, probably underrated power. But to be honest with you, I'm not surprised at all that Frank Martin or perhaps PBC have said, no, we're going to move away from these negotiations, as they put it, moving away from the negotiations, not ducking. It's the same thing, but they've said, no, we're going down a different path now. And it doesn't surprise me, because PBC like to hold all the cards. It's, they were the ones that created that nauseating this side of the street thing, or was that down to Errol Spence? I think with Frank Martin, we can see a sort of an Errol Spence type of career unfolding. Certainly throughout his prime. They might cash him out later. But it's a case of, we control everything, we're the governors, so we'll keep it in-house, which is what PBC like to do. Now, having said that, there is someone who wants to take on Stevenson, desperately wants to take him on, and that is Edwin de los Santos, who is currently 16 wins, 1 defeat, and the defeat was on points, 14 wins by KO, which I think is pretty damn impressive, actually. And he's been calling out Stevenson, and there's no question about it. He's been, I think he's on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, but he's been saying, I can't wait to get this guy in the ring. I am the danger, he says to Shakur Stevenson. In other words, he wants to smoke, as they now say these days. And his record, even though he's got that defeat on his record, that defeat was to the still undefeated William Foster III. That was in 2022, January 2022. He lost a split decision over 8 rounds. Now, the fact that this guy, who's only 23 now, and what would he have been, 21, 22 last year? It depends, I don't know when his birthday is. But that he's prepared to take on another undefeated fighter who is older than him, or at the time would have been, if not in his prime, then damn close to it, and had his man strength. The fact that Dos Santos, who was still a kid, was looking to put his undefeated record on the line against another undefeated fighter. Like I say, William Foster III is still undefeated. He's 16-0 with 10 KOs. I mean, it shows a bit of gumption, as far as I'm concerned, from Edwin de los Santos. Like I say, he's only 23. He's from the Dominican Republic, and he wants it. He really wants it. And if you look at his record, he beat Joseph Adorno. That was his last fight. He unanimous decision, wide unanimous decision over 10 rounds, and that was only in July of this year. Prior to that, Jose Valenzuela, he stopped him in 3 rounds. Valenzuela came in with a 12-0 record. He was undefeated. And then before that, there was a 2-round KO against Luis da Costa, and he also had a 12-0 record. So, and then prior to that, there was the William Foster III split decision defeat. So this guy, De Los Santos, he don't mind it. He'll have it with anyone. You know, Marco Acevedo, prior to the Foster fight, went out in 3 rounds. He was a journeyman. And then if you go back, they are pretty much journeyman in his career, in De Los Santos' career. But when he stepped up, and he stepped up at a young age, he has looked pretty impressive. Now, do I think he would beat Stevenson? No, I think he would start as a hot favourite. Is there a hot favourite? No, hot underdog, I was going to say. No such thing as a hot underdog. As a rank underdog, we'll put it that way. I think Stevenson would be the red hot favourite, definitely. But at the same time, this guy is looking to win world titles, De Los Santos. And it's good that you've got a young fighter, stepping up to face the sort of glitzy, young, highly touted kid. I think this would be a pretty good fight, even though I expect Stevenson to dominate. I think when you've got a motivated, highly ambitious young kid in the opposite corner, you've got to be on your game. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Although I would make it 75-25 that Stevenson's the favourite, probably more, probably 80-20 or something. But don't entirely rule out De Los Santos. I think that's a good matchup. And then, of course, you have, in terms of other potential opponents, you've got Vasily Lomachenko, 17-3. He's ranked with the WBC, I think, at number 3. Isaac Cruz is still knocking around, living off that Tank Davis victory. Tank himself, I think he's still ranked at lightweight? I think he is. I think he's 5th, if I remember rightly. Zepeda, 28-0. Don't know what's happening with him. So there are some really good lightweights around, and they're going to be picking up belts. George Kambosos is still on the scene, although the Maxi Hughes fight was controversial. Yeah. And Maxi Hughes again, maybe he's going to make a run for it as well. He's going to make a run for a world title. But the fact that these belts are going up in the air means it's all good stuff. There's some potential lightweight matchups to look forward to that could be very, very entertaining indeed. Frank Martin ducks Shakur Stevenson. I'll try and bring this back to the original point. What do you think? I'm not remotely surprised. If he wasn't a PBC fighter, I think he still might duck him. But as soon as you get a PBC fighter in a fight where he's probably an underdog, he's going to swerve the heat, I think. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks as always for watching. I'll like the video as well if you don't mind. And we shall catch up with each other soon. Bye for now.